Hi, this is Leora Lanz, and you're listening to Marketing Mindset Lessons from Hospitality, the podcast where I speak with some of my amazing friends throughout the global landscape of hospitality and marketing. We will share best practices that you can use in your business, whether it's in traditional hospitality or not, whether you are an emerging leader in the industry, or seasoned and wanting to stay fresh and always learning. If you're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur, you need a marketing mindset. Whether you're marketing a business or yourself, we all need a marketing mindset. We know you're busy, but take a listen and figure out how you can apply this fresh thinking to your world, both professional and personal. Let's all think like a marketer. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Mindset Lessons from Hospitality, another terrific conversation with practical takeaways that we can apply to our business, to our service, or to ourselves. It's Leora again, and I cannot wait to have this conversation and share marketing mindset practices with you. Today, one of my dear friends and dear colleagues is joining us, and it's Sandra King. Let me share a little bit about Sandra and how we're going to have this conversation today about consumer behavior and what that means for marketers, with lessons from hospitality, of course. Sandra King is a faculty member at Boston University in our School of Hospitality and in the Questrom School of Business. She teaches undergraduate courses in consumer behavior and in marketing. Beyond the classroom, Sandra designs and facilitates workshops for external audiences on topics including marketing, sales strategy for independent business owners, and AI literacy for newcomers to the technology. Sandra brings a multidisciplinary curiosity to her work and her personal life. She's an avid home cook. We talk about food a lot, with a particular passion for Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cuisines. She loves talking about and cooking her slow braised bean dishes and hosting elaborate formal dinner parties. She enjoys exploring Boston's vibrant cultural scene, the museums of Boston, performing arts, outdoor spaces, and I know firsthand we love exploring restaurants together too. She maintains a country home where she can step away from the pace of city life. Whether Sandra is guiding students through the psychology of consumer decision making, or helping restaurant owners sharpen their marketing approaches, or perfecting a one-pot supper for her friends, she brings the same blend of strategic thinking and genuine warmth to everything she does. And I can attest to that firsthand. It's my pleasure to bring into this conversation Sandra King. There she is. Hi, Sandra. Wow.
That sounds like an interesting person.
And I think you are. That's why you're here. Welcome to this conversation, and thank you for having this conversation with me, Sandra.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Leora. I have learned a tremendous amount from you over the years, and
likewise.
I look forward to us having this conversation today for sure.
Thank you. And let's just start with, what is it that you do? I just shared a little bit about what you teach and how you consult and how you work with other businesses. Give us an example, Sandra, of what it is that you're trying to guide businesses to do, and who are you working with?
Yeah, I teach, yes, and I also observe a lot.
Yes.
And with that observation, then I'm able to share my knowledge and experience with undergraduates and graduate students. Actually, I teach in the graduate program at Questrom as well.
Yes.
And with clients. I tend to veer towards small, emerging businesses more so than large commercial clients. That I did that in my other life. But now I like the opportunity to be able to touch owners and to touch founders and to get to wrestle with them as they think through how they build their businesses.
There is something different and important about talking to the owners and the founders directly, isn't there? Because that is the decision maker, obviously. And so they do need to be the one to learn from the wisdom and experience that you bring to be able to take their business into practice and moving forward. And I'm sure that's quite different from working with, no offense to folks who are executing the product or mid-level management, but direct contact with owners is key, isn't it?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
I just participated in an executive education program run by the School of Hospitality, where we provided service to Brookline restaurant owners.
Okay.
And I had 15 restaurant owners and their representatives participate in this workshop. And it was just so energizing to watch their body language, to watch their faces when you share things that they thought about but never executed, or things that they executed that made them succeed. And when you repeat it as a really rites of passage to doing this well, they
Yes.
feel validated. So those were the kinds of joy that I get from this smaller level consulting than in my old life, where I did worldwide studies for ITT Sheraton in my early days. So it's a very different dynamic, but the core is the same. It's understanding that customer, what are the customer's needs, and how do we address those needs in a way that satisfies them and brings joy to both sides of the equation.
Well, that's a great segue into what I want to ask you to start, because we all know in marketing and especially in consumer behavior to make these marketing decisions that understanding the customer is and always will be the center of business success.
Mhm.
Can you explain what you mean by that? Can you take that a little bit further to
Oh,
be able
absolutely.
to share with us why we need to pay attention to that and really stay focused on that concept?
So, sure. The A satisfied customer is a customer who engages with you, your service, your product, their experience. What we are trying to get at is the emotional level of the relationship with the customer. It's not about whether the product will work or the service will work, but it's how do they feel after the interaction?
Okay.
What do they take away from this relationship that they're able to have linger in their minds and then be able to uh, convey to others the impact that their interaction with you had with them, for them?
Right.
What does it deliver? How do they feel after the experience?
So I'm hearing the word feel a few times from you, which is actually how we also define hospitality. It's how we make people feel, right?
Exactly.
So understanding how that customer solution, how that product or service
Mhm.
is a solution for the customer, not just from a tactical or service standpoint, but from an emotional and feeling standpoint. That's what I'm hearing you say, Sandra.
Exactly.
Okay.
A current situation, actually, that is in if you're into car racing, which I am,
Oh,
F,
look at that. F1.
I love the Ferrari brand,
Okay.
and Ferrari
As a
just
brand or as a car?
both.
Okay. Okay.
And I've driven Ferraris in Maranello, Italy,
A
so
while.
I know from personal experience. Ferrari just came out with an electric vehicle.
Okay.
It's $640,000. No, I did not order one. But the response from a passionate Ferrari um, customer,
Advocate. Right.
advocate, admirer, and somebody who aspires to being a Ferrari
Right.
driver has
Right.
been tepid. And
Ah,
you say, why? Well, in their effort to really bring the best innovation and technology to an electric vehicle, one essential component is missing: the Ferrari roar. When
right.
you turn that engine on, you want to feel it, you want to hear it, you want to live it. And it's quiet.
And that's not what
And
people want
that's
from the
not what
Ferrari
people
experience.
want.
So, Sandra,
Exactly.
what could Ferrari have done? Did Ferrari, and I don't know if you know what they actually did do or what would you have
They spent a
recommended?
couple of years muffling the roar.
But did anyone not talk to the customer?
Apparently not. At
Wow.
least that's what all the reports that we see. Inc. magazine did a long article about them and
Okay.
the response. So the designers achieved what they wanted to achieve. The customer is not feeling what they want to feel.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
that's what I mean about feelings.
Okay. So now we just talked about an EV vehicle in the case of this particular
Mhm.
brand. Let's talk about technology.
Right.
Okay. So technology is helping us advance our products and services.
Mhm.
Does it mean that it's, well, in this case, it's showing us that's not necessarily what this customer wanted.
Right.
Okay. The customer wanted something different. But in terms of meeting that customer solution or even the personalization of that product or service or business to
Mhm.
connect, tell us what you're seeing or how you're advising some of your clients when we have advances in technology. What do we have to be careful about to make sure that we're still meeting the consumer's needs? Where can we have the advantage? Here we just heard this example of here's a company trying to do the right thing
Mhm.
using technological advancements to get there, and that's not what necessarily that customer
Exactly.
wanted. So,
Exactly.
so tell us a little bit more about technology, the personalization, the human feeling. Where
Mhm.
have you seen examples of that working? Here we hear it sort of not working. Tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing in this space.
One of the things that we have found from research is that consumers certainly want um, tools that are responsive to them. And lots of companies have integrated chat and AI into
Okay.
their interaction with their customers.
Okay.
In some cases, they're very effective if they can answer very simple questions, if they can guide you to the right sources of information that you need. That's spot on. It's satisfying. It means that you don't have to hang on to a phone and call too many numbers and visit too many places on a website.
Okay.
That's fine. It's when you reach a point where the AI, the chatbot, is not able to respond to your question. A
Hmm.
perfect example.
Okay.
I have a friend who her mortgage company just merged with another mortgage company. She had to go back online and recreate her account.
Oh.
In trying
Oh.
to recreate her account, it connected her with a chatbot. And that AI service tried very hard to be personal, but it sounded stilted,
Yes.
to call her by name, but was pronouncing her name wrong.
Oh.
All of the things that if you were the supplier, if you're that mortgage company, you'd be cringing if you
Right.
were experiencing that. Now,
Right.
my question as a consultant is who tested that system? Who took this system from point A to point B wearing the customer's hat
Right. Or where were the
and the
focus groups in the
customer's ears?
process to test it out in advance? Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Did you
Okay.
ask it the tough questions? Did you ask it the simple questions? Now, what she was able to do, and I give this mortgage company credit for that, she was able
Okay.
to say at one point, can I speak to a human being? And it paused. It never admitted it wasn't a human being,
Right. Right. That's what I was
but
going to
it
ask
did
you.
transfer the call.
Interesting.
Yes,
Okay. At least it had the capability to do that,
exactly.
but it didn't necessarily offer, would you like to speak to a manager or would you like to speak
No,
to another associate? Because they probably felt that people would push the button and want to go there also.
exactly. It was not
Yeah.
the first offer when the system came up. It was a
Okay.
secondary or tertiary offer when the system wasn't working.
Do you have other examples, Sandra, where the technology either has helped or it's blended together as part of the touch points of that customer journey, where you've seen it work in the
Yes,
past?
I think I described to you earlier that I was recently in Napa Valley.
Okay.
And in Napa Valley, you know, there's a lot of um, technology
Yes.
being integrated into the production of wines, into the relationship with the customer, etc. There's a wonderful vineyard, Domaine Chandon, where you're able to go online and you're able to, of course, like any other place, book your visit, your experience. But they have taken it a little step further where they really ask you long before the visit, tell me about your preferences. Tell me about the things. Do you like sparkling? Do you like rosé? But it's deeper than that. It is, what is it about the visit to Napa and the visit to, well, it's to Yountville actually. What
Okay.
is it about your visit that you want to be sure when you leave, you have satisfied?
So they're actually asking. So here's
Yes,
an experience. This was what we would call an experience innovation. They're trying to create a personalized and innovative experience by digging deeper and asking that customer
right.
how to personalize it for them, how to actually
Exactly.
meet their needs.
Exactly. And it's in their website, it's online, and it didn't feel stilted when I did it because I actually went there after having filled this out. And
Okay.
I would observe that when we walked in, the people knew exactly who we were, called us by name, made references to something that they had read about us
Oh,
as
wow.
a prospective customer. When we sat at the table, they the wait staff, when she came over, she said to myself and our guests, I understand that your interest is in X. So you really felt that sense of connection.
They heard you,
They
they listened, they
Exactly.
connected. I love that. What was the name of this winery? I think
Do-
everybody needs to
Domaine
experience it.
Chandon.
Domaine Chandon.
Yes, it was
Phenomenal.
created years ago by Moe Chandon. Yeah.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay. So talk about really connecting and understanding the consumer wants to have a personalized
Mhm.
experience, using their digital platforms to create an incredible physical experience. So that when
Exactly.
you're at, wow, really well done.
Yes,
That's
yes.
incredible.
And curiously enough, as I'm telling you the story, I'm visualizing how pleasant the experience
It's a good
was.
memory for you
And
too.
that's what you want customers to walk away with,
Yes, that
is that
feeling.
memory, that
Yep,
feeling.
and the visual and the feeling. That's wonderful.
Exactly. And I tell that to my students, whether it's a business to consumer product or a business to business product, the people that you're doing business with on the other end of the equation want to feel special.
Yes. Yes.
Even if it's a transaction that's tough to negotiate, when you walk away from the table, everyone wants to feel win-win.
You know what I love about that? I'm sure you have this too. I have certain friends that make you feel like you're the only person in the room,
Oh,
and yet they're brilliant at doing that for everyone. And they mean it
precisely.
genuinely. And
Yes.
so you feel special. Everyone feels special
Mhm.
with that specific friend or person because they know how to make you feel important. And that's a persona that brands should have.
Oh, absolutely,
Love
absolutely.
that.
I had the president of a university that I worked with, and he was just gifted at that.
Yeah,
He could
that is a gift, isn't it?
look you
It
in the
really is.
eye, say something relevant about you, engage for a few minutes, and even after he disengaged, you never felt abandoned.
So in the case of this vineyard, Chandon, tell me the
Mhm.
name again because I want
Domaine Chandon.
Domaine Chandon, they knew how to make every person feel special. They were doing it for everyone there, but you felt like you were the only guest in the room to
Exactly.
customize it.
And I
Okay.
observed the table that was next to us
Okay.
and the conversation that the same wait staff who had helped us had with that table. And you went, oh, that's how they do it. They must have interesting and engaging training.
Training. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
The opposite of that was going to a wonderful French restaurant, and I won't name the name,
Okay.
where The wait staff had what sounded like a false voice.
Oh,
Like I can't
it
even
just didn't
duplicate
sound
it.
genuine. It
It
just
was
didn't sound
it
genuine.
was too embarrassing.
Okay.
And the food was delicious. The atmosphere was delicious, but the table right next to us, there was a couple there, and they looked over at me and they said, "Do you think that's his real voice?"
Right. So it didn't even sound genuine. But let's go back to sort of consumer behavior.
Yeah.
What you're advising clients and businesses in the case of this vineyard, they're actually trying to pull out the consumer preferences as part of their personalization of experiences.
Yes.
That's where the consumer behavior concept and nuance comes into this experience development.
Exactly. And it
Lovely.
also informs product development. So if there is a proclivity to sparkling, as an example,
Which that would be mine.
yes,
Okay.
tell us a little bit more about, is it rosé? Is it is it a blend? Is it, there are lots of ways that they ask these subtle questions about color, as an example,
Okay.
that
Cool.
might they don't tell you that it's impacting their product development, but if you look around their showroom, you could see some of the influences
Love it.
of
So
the yeah,
while they're personalizing it for the guest, they're also collecting data. And this is helpful
exactly,
for them for their product.
exactly.
So let's talk about that too for a second with a concept of a product. And interestingly, I had a conversation with Jonathan Katz not long ago on this
Hmm.
podcast, which I know that you have watched, where, he made a comment even about hotel brands today. He felt they were very commoditized, that they were really not very special. There's
Hmm.
too much commoditization going on. Sandra, how would you consult a business or a small business or an emerging business that you work with, for example, to be special, to aspire to what the vineyard is doing and not be yet another commodity on the shelf? How do
I
you make that distinction?
First, let me say that I agree with Jonathan.
Okay.
And nobody wants commodity, because you want that feeling of special and
Right.
distinctiveness.
Right.
So I advise, for example, a small Spanish restaurant in Boston, I advise, tell me a little bit about your personality. And how does your personality align with that of the personality that you have been able to discern from your customers? And at what point can you match the two? Is your and what are the gaps? Because you need to know the gaps as well. The gaps will give you the opportunity to meet that customer where they expect to be.
Okay.
So, the distinctiveness is what people are looking for. They're looking for differentiation.
Personality.
Exactly.
I don't want to use the word unique because it gets overused, but that's brand's personality, that
Yeah. Well,
authentic personality.
take a brand that we're all familiar with, TJ Maxx.
Okay.
They have lots of merchandise across lots of SKUs. Lot, but when you walk into that store, you have the sense that you're going to find something for you.
Right. Right.
And the reason is because they make that almost like mystery shopping. And they
And I think Marshalls, which I know is part of that same family of
exactly,
companies, they've got a great sort of ad campaign in terms of finding your treasure, leaving with your
exactly,
surprise.
exactly. Yeah, never the
Yeah.
same place
Never
twice.
right.
You
Right.
know, is so you go in with this anticipation. You never really go in saying, I'm going to find a blue shirt today.
Because you might not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you might come out with 3 pink shirts, because guess what? They had a way of creating that inventory flow that addresses, oh, the mystery, oh, the price, oh, the quality, the
The
texture,
surprise, but even the
the
surprise element,
supplies.
right? Because you don't know what
Exactly.
you'll come which is dangerous on the wallet, but you
It's
go in knowing you'll
absolute
get something for you, but you don't know what. And there's something wonderfully surprising and exciting about that too, right?
precisely.
Yeah,
And that's what they want every single time. When you walk out of that store with that bag, in it is something you probably didn't even anticipate you needed.
right, right. And you
And maybe
probably
you don't
don't.
really need it, but guess what? You wanted it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Sandra, earlier you mentioned AI, right?
Mhm.
That's what everybody's talking about right now. Um, Regardless of the business, whether it's hospitality, restaurants, hotels, or retail that we just talked about, can AI help in terms of delivering on the values of a brand? I know that we're still at a point where we don't even know what it can do, and we're all sort of afraid of how much it's going to do.
Yeah.
But what are you thinking right now when it comes to the delivery of the hospitality and the feeling and the connection with the consumer? What are you
I
advising or what
think
are you seeing?
we're still at a big chasm gap in terms of feelings.
Oh,
Yeah, systems can't duplicate feelings
I
yet.
love that. Well, let's hope they don't.
Right.
But
But on
okay.
in terms of efficiency, routinized kind of data gathering, yes, that will work. But in terms of making the consumer, the customer walk away feeling special, I don't know that we're going to be there in the very short term.
Yeah,
Um, is it possible? Who knows? But for now, I think we need the blend of both the technology navigating efficiency for us and the personalized approach where we're still tapping into the expectation of the consumer that you will hear them, feel them, service them at the level that they expect so that they walk away feeling special.
right. And
And
the
I
great
don't
thing
know
is,
that a system can do that yet.
fair enough. And I think, we all want to, at least I'd like to think, we all want to make sure that we keep the humanity with the technological efficiencies. But we also have to make sure that the humans that we have as part of the service delivery are more than capable of delivering and over delivering or exceeding the expectation of the feeling that we want folks to walk away with. So there is a lot that still has to happen
Still has to
constantly.
happen. Yes.
Yes.
Even when it addresses you by name or it tells you, "Oh, good job." You're thinking, "That's a machine telling me good job?" What does a machine know about? How do you calibrate good from evil?
Fair enough. And I have to say, years ago, I sort of fell into that. I think I'm talking to a person
Mhm.
situation because I did get that kind of feedback. And it was after getting a little bit deeper. It was actually a chatbot for Sephora.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
Where I realized it took me a few conversations and the naivete in me realized I'm actually talking to a chat, but because it was so personalized in its responses and
Oh,
it did
yeah.
feel so natural that they did do a very good job with that. But we
Yep,
do want to
there's a
contain.
brand that has a chatbot that reaches out to me probably once a week, and her name is Isabella,
What's
and
the brand, Sandra? What's the brand?
it's Kuyana.
Okay.
Yeah, and at first I thought, "Oh, that's so special. Is Isabella knows me. Isabella know what I bought. Isabella this, Isabella that." And then I went into the store on Newberry Street and I'm talking to Jody, the store manager. And I said, "Who is this Isabella person?"
So we do fall for it. Even the smart, the educated ones that we
Even
are,
the
we're feeling that it's feeling kind of human, and that's where AI is going to continue to go. But we want to make sure we keep the humanity and the service delivery and expectation
yes.
where people leave with that feeling. Sandra, as we wrap up now, can you think of two or three takeaways for someone who's listening to us talk about
Mhm.
consumer behavior, the personalization, the desire to not commoditize and to stay special? Give
Right.
2 or 3 takeaways that you would like folks who are listening to us right now or watching this on YouTube for them to walk away to understand why consumer behavior and the understanding of consumer behavior is so significant to an effective marketing relationship.
I think we need to really focus on how do customers, whether they're business to business or business to consumer, customers want to feel at the end of an interaction,
Okay.
even one that might
Okay.
start out contentious. So, a dissatisfied customer, you want walking away feeling that their resolution was personalized to them. You want to be sure that your customers ultimately become your ambassadors. And they become your ambassadors because they felt heard and served. And last but not least, you want them to come back.
Yes.
Retention is the cheapest form of marketing. So you want to be able to reinforce that first encounter, that third encounter, that seventh encounter that leads to a lifetime of value.
Love that. And I just want to reiterate, because I know I'm always saying how we want to be the customer solution, not our product. We want to
Mhm.
be their solution. But Sandra is helping us with a consumer behavior mindset take that much further with how do we want that person or that recipient of the service to feel? And are we delivering on that feeling?
Exactly.
Love that, Sandra.
And will
Thank
they be
you.
able to share that feeling with others?
And share it with others. Perfect. We're going to end on that glorious note. Sandra, thank you for taking a few minutes to chat with me. We love having these conversations, don't
We
we?
sure
We
do.
do this a lot. We do this a lot when we are together. I'm really appreciative. Thank you for being here. And for those of you watching and listening, we hope you have some great takeaways from this, and we'll return to another episode of Marketing Mindset. Thank you.
Thanks to you as well.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Marketing Mindset, Lessons from Hospitality. Marketing Mindset is a production of Think Tank Media and the Hospitality Nexus, the global platform for hospitality education, with resources such as podcasts, articles, and video tutorials. I'm your host, Leora Lanz, and if you want to learn more about how we can work together, visit my LinkedIn at Leora Halpern Lanz. Remember to order a copy of my debut book, the international bestseller, Developing Your Marketing Mindset, Real-World Lessons from Hospitality, which also won the Business Book of 2025 award from the New England Book Festival. And the newest in the series, the companion book, Marketing Mindset in Motion, inspired by hospitality. Everything you need to think like a marketer for your business, your service, or yourself. Connect with meaning through wellness, sustainability, and community to market with meaning and remember the hospitality. Until next time.